Nobody warned me. I was only 17, and the man waiting for me was 64. They called it a blessing, but my mother cried as if she already knew what I was about to lose. When that door closed, I stopped feeling like a bride and started feeling completely alone. That was the night I realized no one was coming to save me. I had to save myself. Nobody warned me, not my mother, not my aunts, not the older women who had known him for decades and knew exactly what kind of man he was behind the closed door of a marriage. Not one of them said a single word. I was 17 years old. He was 64. And on the night of our wedding, when the guests were gone and the house was dark and quiet, I understood something I have never been able to understand. I understood that I had not been given in marriage. I had been given away. There is a difference. When you are given in marriage, someone has thought about who you are, what you need, what you might become. When you are given away, you are a solution to someone else's problem. You are an arrangement, a transaction dressed in scripture and community approval, and the particular kind of silence that Amish women have perfected over generations to cover the things they cannot say out loud. My name is Hannah. I was 17 years old when my father gave me to a man named Walter Graber. Walter Graber was 64 years old. I did not know, on the morning my father told me, what my life was about to become. I know now, and I am going to tell you. This is Beyond the Bonnet, where the stories that were never supposed to leave the community finally get to be told. My name is Hannah. I grew up Old Order Amish. I left when I was 22. And what happened in the 5 years between my wedding day and the morning I walked out the door is the reason this channel exists. If this story stays with you, leave a comment. Tell me where you are watching from. Tell me something about yourself. I read every single one. And if you want it, the like button right now, because what I am about to tell you has never been said on this channel before, and it needs to be heard. Walter Graber was a name that made older women in our district go quiet. Not the loud quiet, not the kind that comes from shock or disapproval, the other kind. It was the practiced quiet. The quiet of women who decided that certain things are known and not discussed, and that the knowing is enough. I did not speak the older women's language yet. I was 17. Walter had been married once before. His wife, a woman named Edna, had died 11 years earlier after a long illness. He had no children from that marriage. He had a large farm, a well-kept house, and a reputation in the community for strictness, with his land, with his animals, with the standards he kept in his household. He tithed generously. He sat in the front pew. He had never given the bishop cause for formal concern. These were the things the men in my community when they discussed Walter Graber. My father told me on a Monday evening after supper. He said, "Walter Graber has asked about you." I have told him yes. I said, "How old is he, Dad?" My father said, "Old enough to know how to take care of a wife." I said, "Tell me the number." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, 64. He is a good man, Hannah, a man of standing. You will want for nothing. I looked at my mother. She was standing at the stove with her back to me. She did not turn around. I have spent years trying to understand that moment. My mother was not a weak woman. She had weathered hard things with a steadiness I had always admired. She was the person in our family who faced things directly. She could not face me that night, and I was 17, and I did not yet know that her back was the warning. I said, "Yes, Dad." Those were the words. 2 words. And with those 2 words, The direction of my next 5 years was decided. Walter came to our house twice before the wedding. The first time, he brought a gift. A wooden box, handmade, my initials pressed into the lid. I held it and thought about the hands that made it. I had noticed them when he walked in. The hands of a man who had worked hard land for 6 decades. I remember them. I held it and thought about the hands that made it. I had noticed them when he walked in. Large hands, thick fingers. The hands of a man who had worked hard land for 6 decades. The second time, he sat across from me at our kitchen table and looked at me for a long time without speaking first. When he finally spoke, he said, "You are young. That is good. I need someone with strength." I said, "I am strong." He said, "We will see." He left 20 minutes later. I went upstairs and sat on my bed and tried to pray. The words would not form. There was only a feeling, low in my chest, impossible to name, that something was already happening to me that I had not agreed to. We were married 6 weeks later. Everything changed. The ceremony was everything it was supposed to be. Long, scripture-heavy, community witnessed. I stood beside Walter Graber in the front room of my parents' farmhouse, and I said the words I had been raised my whole life to say. The bishop read from Ephesians. Community sang. The women had cooked for 2 days, and the food was good, and everyone embraced me and told me I looked beautiful. I remember thinking, they are not looking at me. They are looking at the dress and the cap and the arrangement. They are looking at a transaction and calling it a wedding. We rode to his house in the early evening. The house was large, clean, completely without warmth. Not cold in temperature, cold in the way of a space that has been kept, but not lived in. No color on the walls, no softness anywhere. No evidence that anyone had ever been comfortable here. I stood in the kitchen and looked around and I thought, this is where I live now. And then it was evening, and then it was dark. I will tell you what happened carefully. Not because I am protecting anyone, because what I am describing needs to be heard clearly. Walter Graber was a man of enormous demand. I had been prepared for marriage the way Amish girls are prepared, which is to say I had been given almost nothing. I had been told that a wife's duty included the duties of the marriage bed, that this was sacred, that a good wife gave willingly, that a faithful wife gave consistently, that a godly wife did not complain. What I had not been told was what willingly and consistently looked like when the man asking was 64 years old and had been alone for 11 years and approached his new young wife, not as a person but as something he had been given permission to use. The first night I understood what my body meant to him. Not comfort, not companionship, not the gentle beginning of something built between two people. Possession. I lay in the dark afterward and stared at the ceiling and counted the wooden planks above me. 17. I counted them every night in the weeks that followed. It became a way of being somewhere else while still being there. 17 planks. I knew each one. The exhaustion that settled into my body in the first 2 weeks of my marriage was unlike anything I had felt before. Not the tiredness of hard work, which I knew and had never minded. This was different, deeper, a heaviness that did not lift with sleep because the nights did not allow real sleep, a soreness that renewed before it could resolve. I kept his house, I cooked his meals, I sat beside him on Sundays with my face arranged correctly. And inside that arranged face, something was changing. In the beginning, it was only endurance. One day, in front of the next. Head down, move forward, survive. But slowly, over months, endurance grew a spine. I started to watch. It took me 2 years to build properly. Every plan made inside a life that belongs to someone else has a cost. Mine was no different. There were nights when the plan felt impossible, when the weight of what I was carrying was too heavy to think past. When the woman I was becoming careful, watchful, strategic, felt so different from the girl who had said yes. Dad with no understanding of what yes meant that I barely recognized her. But I trusted her. The new version of me. The one with a plan. I saved money. Small amounts. Carefully. From the household budget Walter trusted me to manage. It took 18 months. It required patience. I did not know I had until the plan required me to have it. I memorized an address. A women's organization in the nearest city that helped women leaving closed communities. I had seen their information once at an English doctor's office and held it in my memory for 14 months and told no one. I watched for the right morning. It came on a Thursday in November. Walter had a long meeting at the bishop's house. I had known about it for 2 weeks. I got up before dawn. I made the fire. I put the kettle on. I did the things that would make the house look undisturbed for as long as possible. And then I picked up the one bag I had packed in pieces over 3 weeks, a few things at a time, nothing that would be noticed missing, and I walked out the front door. I did not look back at the house. Not once. The road was empty. The November air was cold. I walked 4 miles to the nearest town. I bought a bus ticket. I sat down. I waited. Nobody came. I have been out for 3 years now. I live in a city that the girl I was at 17 could not have imagined. I have a job. I have a small apartment. I have windows that face east and let the morning light come in first thing, which I did not know I needed until I had it. I am learning. Some days feel like standing in a very large space after years in a very small room. The openness is sometimes more frightening than the walls were, but I choose it. Every single day. That choice, the fact that it is mine, is everything. I think about a line I read after I left. Not from our church, not from the Ordnung, but from a woman who had also lived inside a world not built for her choices. She wrote, "You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm." I was set on fire at 17. I kept burning for 5 years. I am not burning anymore. My name is Hannah. I was 17 years old when my father said yes to a man I had never chosen. I survived what happened inside that house. And I walked out on a Thursday morning in November with 1 bag and 4 miles of cold road ahead of me, and something I had not had in 5 years. A direction I had chosen myself. If you have ever been handed over to a life you did not choose, I see you, not the face you arranged for Sundays. You, the one counting ceiling planks in the dark. You do not have to keep burning. Leave me a comment. Tell me you are here. Tell me where you are watching from. Subscribe to Beyond the Bonnet.